Hello everyone, welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be doing a discussion of some books, some Victorian works I'd love to read between this Victober and next Victober. The past few years I've been doing this and I really like just thinking about ways I can continue to read Victorian literature despite it not being Victober the rest of the year, so that I can get through more of my TBR, and particularly because this Victober, while it wasn't a failure by any means, I definitely read some good things and got through honestly more than I expected to once the halfway point of the month came around. It was definitely not as much as I wanted to read at the beginning of the month. Obviously, if you've been watching my videos, you know there's been things going on in my life that have caused that to happen, but it is a little bit disappointing to me, so I'd like to kind of make up for that. So let's start with books that specifically I hope will make up for my slight failure in Victober. Slight failure, like honestly I did much better than I thought I would once I was done with my surgery, so it's not been that bad, but I didn't do as much as I had hoped to. So the first one I'm going to mention that I want to actually read before the end of the year if possible is Sylvias Lovers by Elizabeth Gaskell. I did start this, got about 80 pages in, really was enjoying it, but I just was not in the right headspace after my surgery to focus on reading in general. So I decided to narrow down what I was reading so I didn't feel so overwhelmed, and this just kind of got put on the back burner, partially because I really feel like I'm going to enjoy this book a lot and I don't want to ruin the experience by reading it during a time when I'm just not ready for it, not in the headspace for it. So if you don't know, this follows a young woman named Sylvia who lives on this, or in this village that is just right on the seaside, and a lot of people there work as sailors. It's kind of this big thing, and they discuss a lot about the press gang in this, and it's, like I said, it's really fascinating. The atmosphere is beautiful, just very gothic and moody, but with like a beach scene instead of like the countryside like a lot of other Victorian novels have, especially Victorian novels with great atmosphere. So that's been my favorite part, has just been the atmosphere and setting, but I am very curious to see how the rest of this book goes because I am very interested in Sylvia as a character as well. So that's kind of the biggest one that I was disappointed that I didn't get to, but I also didn't get to The Daughters of Daas by Caird, and I really was looking forward to reading this. So I would love to get to this before next Victober because I've just had it for a while. It's been one that's kind of been on my radar heavily for a long time, and I just feel like I would like to get to it. It's also been a minute since I've read any more obscure Victorian works, and I just really like doing that when I can. So yeah, I think I would like to get to this in the next few months if possible, potentially before the end of the year like Sylvias Lovers, but I have one other that I really would like to get to before the end of the year too, and I think I might prioritize that one. Oh, before I move on, this book follows two sisters, and I believe one of them wants to become a composer in Paris. So it's very much the new woman kind of movement type book, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. But like I said, there's another book that I kind of want to prioritize over that one at this point, and that is Romola by George Eliot. I'm a little intimidated by this because I've heard a lot of people say it's kind of one of the more intense George Eliot books, and George Eliot already is a little dense. And even though I've read 3 books by her, I still feel a little intimidated by her. But several months ago, Kate Howe, Milena from Milena Reads, and a few other booktubers did a little group read of this and had a discussion that was posted on Kate Howe's channel, and I've had it on my Watch Later playlist since it came out because I knew I wanted to get to this one. So I kind of would like to get to this soon, not only to just read it soon and read a George Eliot since it's been about a year now since I read a George Eliot, but also so I can get that video off my Watch Later playlist and that I can enjoy that conversation. So we'll see how it goes. This follows a young girl during the time period of Savonarola's rise and fall. That's all I really know about it, and that's all I really want to know about it. So we'll see how it goes for me, but hopefully I'll get to this soon. Then I really would like to get to a sensation novel. It's been a minute since I've read a sensation novel and I just miss it. I just want the drama. So I have 2 here that I've had for a while that I would love to get to if possible before next Victober. One is The Doctor's Wife by Mary Elizabeth Braddon, and then we have The Law and the Lady by Wilkie Collins. The Law and the Lady by Wilkie Collins follows a young woman who gets married to this older man who had a wife before her, and she starts to question kind of the history of what happened with his previous wife. At least I believe so, and so she kind of takes it upon herself to do research. I think she's also trying to clear her husband's name because I think there's a lot of rumors that it was his fault, and she's trying to prove that that's not true. I think. I could be so wrong about that, but I think that is the case. Then The Doctor's Wife is about a young woman who is married and has children, but she ends up being lured away by this charming man. She reads a lot of novels, and that kind of sucks her away from her life, but then she wants to come back, I believe, is how the story goes. I've only read one thing by Mary Elizabeth Braddon, Lady Audley's Secret, and so I'd love to read more by her. And Wilkie Collins, I've only read The Moonstone and The Woman in White, so his two most popular works, so I'd love to get into some of his slightly lesser known stuff and then to try more Mary Elizabeth Braddon. And the final area I'd like to discuss is a little more general. Basically, I would love to read either a Dickens novel or an Anthony Trollope novel before the next Victober. Potentially both, but they both do long things, and I'm a little bit more concerned about the books I've already talked about, but I know I'm going to want something by one or the other of them. So if I read a Dickens, the one that's been calling to me most that I think will be my next Dickens is Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. This follows a young girl whose father is in a debtor's prison, so she has kind of been in this debtor's prison for a lot of her life, just taking care of him and stuff. That's all I really know, but it's just been calling my name. Like I said, it just feels like it needs to be the next Charles Dickens novel that I read, so I think it will be, and I'm very much looking forward to that. If I read another Anthony Trollope, I have a book called An Eye for an Eye, which is just like a standalone by him that's shorter. So potentially I'll read that. That's the only one I have left right now that I haven't read, besides starting like the Palliser series, and I don't want to do that yet. Actually, I do have a collection of his complete short stories, so I potentially could turn to that a little bit, but I think I'd rather go for a novel if possible. And I think what I'd read, if I don't do An Eye for an Eye, I would love to continue the Barsetshire Chronicles. I took forever in between The Warden and Barchester Towers, and I would really like to not do the same thing with Dr. Thorne, I believe is the third one. So I don't own it right now, but I would purchase it and end up reading it. I'll probably purchase it relatively soon either way. But anyway, those are the books that I would love to read before next Victober. Will I actually do it? I don't know. Will another book take my fancy and I'll read something else? Yes, potentially. But I do feel good about this list. These are all books that have really been on my radar for a long time. I also have a couple books I could mention that I think I'm wanting to read next Victober, specifically New Grub Street by George Gissing. That's one that I'm like, I think next Victober will be the time. But anyway, let me know down below if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them. How did your Victober go? Are there books that you're still wanting to get to soon, even though Victober is over? I would love to know that as well. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you are having a wonderful day, a wonderful reading month, and I will see you next time. Bye!